It's a great honor and privilege, because he's become a friend of mine, to introduce President Erdogan of Turkey. He's running a very difficult part of the world. He's involved very strongly, and frankly, he's getting very high marks.
Frankly, he's a thug. And human rights in his country, press rights in his country have all gone up in smoke. This was a place that was a stability, was an oasis of stability. And for a lot of people, at least a decade ago, KDK thought that Turkey actually was hopefully the future of the Middle East, a gateway between Europe and the Middle East. And since this thug has taken over, it's just gone in a terrible direction.
Yeah, it was a secular Muslim country on the border between the kind of Middle East and Europe, had close ties with European countries. The economy has been doing very well until recently, and now you're in a position where European countries have no idea what to do about Turkey, and Turkey has them kind of hijacked over the issue of refugees and allowing and containing refugee flows into Europe, but increasingly authoritarian, and not just, of course, in Turkey, using authoritarian tactics on the streets of Washington, D.C., when his security guards are beating up anti-Turkish government protesters.
With us now is former U.S. ambassador to NATO and former State Department spokesman Nicholas Burns, and on set with us here in New York, columnist for the Daily Beast and author of the book Nuclear Showdown: North Korea Takes on the World, Gordon Chang.
Mr. Ambassador, let's start with you. Where are we right now in the standoff between the United States and North Korea?
Well, unfortunately, and you've been talking about it, we're in a war of words, and the president again this morning calling Kim Jong-un a madman. I think you have to go back to our strongest Republican presidents, Eisenhower, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush. You can't imagine them getting down in the mosh pit of international politics with Kim Jong-un and calling them names. They would have taken a step back. They would have been very tough-minded. They would have established our unrivaled dominance militarily, but they wouldn't have engaged in a war of words. So I think this is a major mistake. You want the rest of the world to be with us. You want to make us look like what we are, the victim of Kim Jong-un and his crazy policies. But you don't want to convey a sense that we're going to just trade word for word against him. I do think, Joe, that the one good thing that happened this week by the Trump administration was the announcement of these sanctions yesterday, the banking and sectoral sanctions. That's the kind of thing they should be doing, trying to leverage the North Koreans and trying to get China to help in that.
All right, Gordon.
So Gordon, when Kim put out this statement yesterday, I was stunned to read this thing in the New York Times that said that it was the first time he'd ever put out a direct statement in his name. I believe that's true, right? And again, to the point of kind of name calling, calling President Trump the mentally deranged U.S. dotard. What does it mean, just in historical perspective, that Kim is in a position now where he is doing something he's never done before, rhetorically, which is to actually put out a statement in his name and to have it be this statement?
Yeah. What Kim Jong-un is trying to do is sort of mimic his grandfather. He is charismatic. He's trying to talk directly to people. But, you know, also, we've seen in the last several months or so, Kim has actually been quoted by state media, not statements, but quoted by state media in his actual words. And this is a real indication that he's trying to build a rapport, not only with the North Korean people, but reach out to the rest of the world. So this is an indication of his mentality and his ambitions.
Ambassador Burns, we're also following developments out of Iran. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani reportedly saying the country will boost its missile capabilities. That's according to state TV. Rouhani made the remarks this morning during a parade of armed forces in the capital city of Tehran. He allegedly added that Iran will not seek permission from any country to boost its missile capabilities, and that Iran will increase its military power as a deterrent. What is this message, Ambassador Burns, and who's he speaking to here?
Well, he's speaking to the Sunni Arabs who are his opponents. He's speaking to the United States and the Europeans. Here, I think the Trump administration has an opportunity. And the opportunity is this. Iran's trying to punch a big hole in the Sunni world. They've been the problem stoking violence, as you know, in Iraq, Syria, Yemen, and Lebanon. They're trying to establish a dominant military position. And if President Trump would talk to that side of the Iran problem, he'd have a lot of support internationally from the Europeans and definitely from Israel and the Sunni Arabs. And I think a lot of Republicans and Democrats in Congress are very sympathetic to the fact that we do need to try to impose limits on Iran's ballistic missile activities. But what did the president do this week? He focused the whole week on the Iran nuclear deal, and it would be a loser for the United States if we walked out of that. So there's two Iran problems. We've got them frozen on the nuclear side for at least a decade. We should keep that deal and focus on this other big problem.
So Nick Burns, it's Catty here. The president has problems rallying the international community and allies when it comes to decertifying the Iran nuclear deal. The Europeans might not want to do that, but I'm wondering about the language that he's using and this kind of war of words that he's engaged in with Kim Jong-un. Is that also in a sense risking alienating foreign opinion and allies? Because are they going to look at this and say, you know, what's the president doing? You know, we want to get on board on North Korea. We really do. We kind of are in the same place, but this isn't helping.
Well, Catty, it's a good question. I think everybody realizes around the world it's Kim Jong-un who's the problem. Donald Trump didn't start the North Korea crisis. But that speech on Tuesday that President Trump gave was so bombastic and so shrill. It was the wrong words, wrong audience, that I think that he's got a problem with public opinion in South Korea and Japan. He has the support of the two governments, but people don't want a war on the Korean Peninsula. We need to act, as I said before, in a defensive way. Very strong. We're in the right here. But if we promise to rain down fire on the North Koreans, you're going to worry a lot of Japanese and South Korean civilians, and you want that public support for what we're trying to do as well.
Gordon, you have a clear-eyed view of North Korea. You're able to see through all the back and forth and the rhetoric through the years because you understand that country so well. How concerned are you right now about the level of rhetoric and the ability of North Korea now to back up what for a long time has been essentially trash talk on the world stage?
Yeah, two things. Foreign Minister Ri Yong-ho yesterday talked about an atmospheric test over the Pacific. This is what they're trying to do, is to show that they can integrate all of their capabilities and hold any country at risk. And so that is important. It's more than just words. The other thing, though, I think the North Koreans are now on the back foot because the foreign minister was supposed to give his UN General Assembly speech today, and he's postponed it indefinitely.
Why is that?
And that's, I think, because the North Korean regime right now does not know how to respond to Trump, and it doesn't know how to respond to China. Because what Trump just did was he intimidated China into getting their banks to stop all of their business with the North Koreans. That's a really big deal because of gift politics. You know, we talk about the money going to the weapons programs. As important is the money going to the regime elements, because that's how Kim keeps the loyalty.
So you're agreeing with Ambassador Burns that really the big news of this week, put all the bombast aside, the big news of this week are sanctions that actually matter.
Yes. I mean, these are sanctions that could actually solve this issue peacefully. That means the Treasury Department needs to go after all of these dollar transactions around the world. That's very difficult. They're understaffed right now. They were understaffed last week. They are terribly understaffed now because this imposes so many more burdens on those people, because we're going to get a big Easter egg hunt around the world trying to find all of this money going to the North Koreans. And that takes a lot of people to do.
Yeah.
Wow. Ambassador Nicholas Burns and Gordon Chang, thank you both for being on the show this morning.
Thank you, guys.
Up next, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is speaking out after Russian operatives apparently used his platform to influence America's election. Is the company doing enough to stop it from happening again? You're watching Morning Joe. We'll be right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.